talk session. So for those of you who are new to this kind of presentations, this is really fast-paced, and we strictly keep it down to 5 minutes per speaker, like literally. This is the whole fun part of this session. Let's see. Each speaker, please come back here and get the microphones before you speak so that we can quickly switch. Please introduce yourself briefly within those 5 minutes. In the past, people didn't, and we were basically asked to always ask speakers to do this. Let's see. You have the confidence monitor here. The clicker on the right side. You go to the next slide. I know that people get confused when they are under pressure. What else? I think that's pretty much what? Voting. Oh yes. So write down your thoughts, and then when you hear all the speakers, we will. Actually, I think it's already connected on the web, or it will be in the next hour or so. But wait until end of tomorrow when you hear all the lightning talk speakers, and then tell us which are number 1, number 2, and then we'll compile it, and the next 2 speakers, the best 2 speakers will get full slot at the next conference. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's start with Steve, who actually knows what's going on here because he's been here for a while. Okay, so
Mike? Okay, over the last couple of years, data lake has been a huge sort of focus and buzzword in the industry. And what I wanted to do is have a brief discussion about the issues that we're having and sort of how to bring some best practices to that. So I think one of the things that we need to be clear on is what is the purpose of the data lake, right? The data lake is to get the raw material to provide information into your data product. Not all of the raw material will go into the data product because not all of the raw material has the value to justify the investment in the performance and high availability and so on for the data product. But we don't know what we don't know, right? So going back to the discussion earlier, right, in theory, all data has value, we just haven't found it yet, but we can't afford to keep it all at the cost of high performance, high availability, and so on. We also need this discovery area, which is, I would say, transient. I would call that data R&D, transient area, so people can sandbox and do experiments and so on. So we need to be able to support all of these things. I'm going to focus on the data lake in this brief discussion. So if you look at the big ideas that people talk about, it's store all the data, wherever all means within your economic constraints. Raw data, we're not going to invest in the data modeling, we're not going to do big transformations on it and so on. It's the raw data. And then leverage multiple technologies to support processing flexibility, because the data will be not only record-oriented, not only SQL will be the right way to process the data, so we need other kinds of processing models. So these 3 big ideas, I think, are absolutely critical for data lake. This 4th idea, which I hear a lot, I think is confused, right? This 4th idea is we're going to resolve the nagging problem of accessibility and data integration, and I see people building a bunch of data marts in the data lake, and now they're losing the economics of the low cost of the data lake, they're losing the agility and so on, and in the end, that's what the data product is for. That's what the data warehouse is for. So we're getting confused as to what the different pieces are. So the best practice is around agility, underinvest in the performance, underinvest in the data modeling, underinvest in the preparation of the data, get it into this data lake staging area so then we can decide what data is worth promoting and what data is not worth promoting. All the data, multi-structured data, record-oriented data, text data, whatever it is that makes sense in your business, and we need to support those multiple computational models, and we need to do it very, very cheaply, because we can't store all data forever, but if we can store it 100 times cheaper, then that's 100 times more data than what we would have had. Gartner will tell you that 90% of these data lake projects are failing, and it's worse than failing, are delivering no value, 0 value. Now, of course, Gartner likes to overstate these things because, of course, that means you need their consulting to make sure you're not one of the 90%. But having said that, there's a big problem out there, right? two big problems. One is people have the wrong metric for success. One of the metrics is, how big is my data lake? You walk around these conferences and everybody likes to talk about my data lake's bigger than your data lake and how many petabytes do you have and so on. Completely the wrong measure, right? Size correlates to cost, not value. The second point is there is a complete lack of governance. People are dumping stuff in. I put stuff in. You don't know what I put in. You put stuff in. I don't know what you put in. We're putting the same stuff in, 17 copies of the data, and we think our data lake is better because it's bigger, right? But that's all wrong. And so this term data lake, I hate it because lake is a random act of nature. I don't want my data management strategy to be a random act of nature. I want my data governed. I prefer data reservoir, man-made for a purpose, not a random act of nature. Random act of nature becomes a data swamp. I'm not going to drink this water. I will drink that water. Okay? So what do we need to do to make it better? We need to do a lot better job on the governance on the provenance, right? The scientific people in the room know what provenance is. Most of the commercial data people, they don't know what provenance even means, right? We need to understand where the data come from, who put it there, what any transformations that were done on it. All of those things need to be in place in order to get the collaboration and cooperation necessary to get the full value out of the data lake. At that point, we transform data lake to data reservoir, and that becomes the raw material for our data R&D and for our data product. Okay? Thank you.